Good Saturday morning to you, everybody. Welcome to On the Mark with Mark Papa from Financial Resources Group. I'm Gary Byron. You can get a lot of information on his website, www.frplan.com. That's frplan.com. And do yourself a favor. Write this phone number down, and more importantly, use it for a no-obligation consultation. 860-657-8380. Again, it's 860-657-8380. Let me give you other points of contact. There's another website that he has. It's tax season. It's a separate business. Check out this website. It's glasstaxpro.com. That's glass with one S. It's short for Glastonbury, because that's where they're out of. It's not the Windows. It has nothing to do with that. It's one S. GLAS taxpro.com. And one other thing. Mark has his own YouTube channel. Now, you can go to YouTube and just put in his name, Mark Papa. That's Mark with a K and two P's. Actually, technically, there's three P's in Papa. P-A-P-P-A. Mark with a K, P-A-P-P-A 5207. Or simply head on over to his website, and there's actually a tab that you can just click on to YouTube, and you can also get a replay of this show. This is a great show. This is lots of financial and non-financial that many advisors won't even tell you. Oftentimes, they're overlooked little things, and that's why this show is vital. Mark, good morning and great to see you, my friend.
Oh, hi. Good morning, Gary. How are you?
Doing well. How was your week? We're in March now. Can you believe that?
It's another Saturday in March. Yeah, it's a kind of the old dad joke that my fifth grade teacher used to tell on March 4th. You know, it's time to March 4th.
Oh, well, today's only March 1st, so let's not get ahead of ourselves here, Mark.
It's such a dad joke, but he was a great teacher, though. I'll never forget. I've got a lot of great memories growing up in town, so Newington was a great school.
You and I both.
That was Mr. Slattery, but he was solid. John Patterson School.
Oh, I went to Keller.
Yeah, you were on the other side of the tracks, sort of. Till we all got to high school, which made it great, you know.
And that's where you and I met.
Yeah, and we all got along pretty well in that town, I thought, you know.
You know, I think it was an era. I think everybody got along in the 80s. You know, just somebody you didn't know, you were welcoming to them.
Yeah, a lot of amazing camaraderie, and it was again. I tell everybody what a great place it was to grow up. I'm very fortunate to have been there. So Gary, today, you know, speaking of things like family and camaraderie and all those kind of things. Today, I'm going to just give an overview of some of the things I like to talk about. One is how to properly title your accounts to avoid probate. Mm-hmm. And I'm also going to talk about beneficiaries. Beneficiaries are, you know, obviously not for the people who are alive, but after you're basically gone.
Well, yeah, but while alive, you've got to set all that up.
Yeah, you got to set all that up correctly.
Yeah.
So we're going to go over some of those things, why that's so important. And there's going to be some surprises in here, too. People are going to find out.
Are these good surprises, I hope?
These are good surprises, but we're also going to talk about estate planning in this. I'm going to put a plug in. There's two things I want to offer everybody who listens to this show. And this goes back to 2022. You might be able to see this, Gary, where it says, not that I like to predict the future, but this was pretty much in the headlines about interest rates going up. And during that period, we started to see inflation. And it was pretty obvious that interest rates, people were crying that the Fed hasn't done this and the Fed hasn't done that. And it says here, you know, experts expect at least 5 rate hikes in 2022. So that's exactly what that happened, probably more, but they were done at a very heavy level. And so I was on top of that for folks and trying to get people to say, hey, come see me. And I put an ad in the Glastonbury Citizen that people can come in and get a $100 gas card from Cumberland Farms if they were just to come see me. In order to
to come see you.
Just to come see me. And what we would do is, we would talk about – now, I'm not giving away $100 into the wind. So there are some terms and conditions, and that would be to do the full checklist review.
Okay.
We've talked about the 7 essential documents. What I'm about to talk to today are included into that full checklist review. Everything we've talked about on the show from day one is included in that full check review. And for your troubles, I'll give you a $100 gift card to Cumberland Farms. You can use it for gas. You can use it for breakfast sandwiches, coffee, whatever you want. But you will get that if you agree. Do an intro meeting. We'll do what's called a goals meeting. I'll sit you down. We'll figure out what your goals are and where you want to go. Not me directing you. You letting me, telling me what what you want and what you're looking for, and I will do my best to accommodate that. Through the full checklist review, we'll be able to uncover all those little things.
Give me an example. Please, I don't have the time, and we've got other things to get to this morning. Give me one or two examples of what's on this checklist. What's a question or two that you would ask?
Well, a lot of it, actually, the next two I'm going to talk about are titling and beneficiaries. Or one of the main things we'll look at is we actually have people bring copies of their power of attorney. And a lot of times we find that power of attorney may not work with their bank or brokerage firm. Okay. So in the event that their elder parent is incapacitated, their mom or their dad, or they're starting to, not able to handle their own financial affairs, we'll find that that's a perfectly legal power of attorney, but it's dated 6 years ago.
Jeez.
And so they bring it down to the bank, and the bank might say, 6 years old, now we need to send this up to the legal department. And they're going to get back to you. But what happens if you need your money today to pay a bill and mom can't write a check? What are you going to do, right? So those are the kind of things we want to cover. So as a result of that, as part of this as well, again, I'm not here to predict the future at all, but, I just want to let you know, $100 gift card if you come in for that full checklist review.
That's a fair deal.
It is a fair deal. And you're going to come out walking out of there with more than $100 in on average $3,291 in benefits people find that they're owed or unaware of. So it's not chump change. And that's on a $250,000 household. That's not even on what most people have around here. That's only in $250,000. So $3,291 in money you didn't even have to work for. We're just helping you put that back in your pocket. I think that's a pretty good deal.
I do too.
All right. So I think it's worth the trouble. Okay. So first thing I want to talk about is titling, Gary. And titling has to do with now you're married, obviously, right? Mm-hmm. So do you still have joint accounts in your name, or do you have joint accounts with your spouse?
No, we have separate accounts. We do have one joint account that we never touch.
Okay. That's great. So I think this is going to be very beneficial to you because on that joint account, what's so good about having a joint account? Can you both write checks if you need to?
Yes.
Okay.
There is a check. Yeah, but we don't.
You don't.
We never have, actually. It's still that check 0001.
That's wonderful. So I'll bet you both have a little rule that in order to touch that account, we both have to have a little conversation.
Of course. Yeah. What's the point? It's why it's a joint account.
Yeah, exactly, which is good. Yeah. But if, come hell or high water, if you needed to write a check and the other one couldn't, what can you do? Right?
Well, yeah. I mean,
you can write a check.
You have to write a check, right?
It's a joint account, right? And what's interesting about that, how come you don't add, your kids on those accounts?
He's young. He's a young guy.
He's young, but let's say he was 18 and old enough. Would you add your kid on it or no?
Probably not.
No.
They're irresponsible at that age.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want them running around. And just a quick note going back to the power of attorney. A lot of people do that because they want to handle the bank for mom. And here's the problem. If let's say you take a 70-year-old, let's call it the 85-year-old woman, puts her 65-year-old daughter on the account because they want to start paying some bills. I'm not saying that's a horrible thing. Mm-hmm. But guess what happens if the 65-year-old daughter got caught up in a lawsuit? Guess what happens to the account that she's joined with?
That will get attached to that. Yeah, because that's money that they own.
Right. So going back to before the power of attorney, guess what's the better way of accessing that money? Safer way.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, right.
So making sure that works is how important. So not to belabor that, let's get into the titling, though, because this is all tied together. So let's say something were to pass. Let's say the both of you passed away. How does the bank or brokerage firm know where to send that money? Let's say, God forbid, tragic accident, Gary.
Well, it goes to the opposite. You have the surviving spouse, right?
Well, yeah. What happens if
we both passed away?
God forbid.
Probably next kin, right? The child.
Yeah, next of kin. So is the child listed as the beneficiary of that account?
No.
Huh?
No.
Okay. So jot that down for me because I'm going to have you do that as your homework. Because here's the deal. Guess where it goes if the child is not listed as the beneficiary. And that's just happened to me. Not to me, but to a client of mine. There's a special court we take that we go to when we die. Do you know what that's called? Starts with a P.
The probate court, yeah.
Probate court. So that money, though, and then in order to get to probate, who do you have to hire typically?
An attorney?
Attorney. And are they working for free?
No, probably not.
Probably not, right? And I mean, does that cost you time,
money,
hassle, right? Getting everything together. So if there was a way you can actually avoid the probate court, what would you do?
I would take advantage of that.
Yeah, you totally would take advantage of it. And I couldn't say it better myself. So here's the thing. When you go to fill out your bank accounts, okay, does the bank or brokerage firm, did they let you know that there's a special form?
I've never done this, Mark. You're asking me a question. I don't know if I can't answer these because I've never done this.
All right. So when you go to the bank, let's say I open up a joint account, there's another form you could sign to actually name who the beneficiary of your bank account would be.
Okay.
Okay. It's called the POD. I think that's Fidelity's version. And TOD, transfer on death. But it's all the same thing. So it just happened, unfortunately, one of my clients who her dad is still alive, and her and her brother are managing the father's affairs, but she was actually handling her mother's stuff. I didn't really have a lot of time to spend with her because she was so busy taking care of her mother who was sick, back and forth to doctor's appointments, running back and forth to the hospital, whatever the case may be. And they found when she was living in Connecticut, she set up a bank account. And unfortunately, they forgot to name what on the bank account?
A beneficiary.
Beneficiary. So then the mom had a trust, by the way. Okay, she had a trust. But guess what they forgot to do?
Name a beneficiary.
Yeah. So guess what? So they went back. They went down to the probate court, and guess what? How helpful was the probate court?
They probably kept the money.
Yeah, they probably want to keep the money. And now the bank or brokerage firm that's sitting on that dollar amount, I won't say it because but it's a decent amount. Are they in any hurry to help you fill out the paperwork?
Of course not. No.
So, do you see my point?
Yep. I sure do.
Right. So, but my point is, how hard would it have been for the bank or brokerage firm to have them fill out that extra form? Would it?
Well, I'm surprised nobody sat them down and had them do this and say, "Hey, we need to talk about beneficiaries here."
Yeah. Well, and that's exactly what, unfortunately, I wasn't able to do, but. Just because she's in Florida and, taking care of the mom back and forth, it's hard to get that FaceTime. But now, guess what's going to happen? That's going to
make sure that happens.
Yeah. And not only that, for her brother, guess what? I said the same thing. So let's make sure we scrub through all
this. That's
a
costly mistake. I mean, it's one thing to learn a lesson. That's a costly lesson to learn.
Well, it is, especially if it's a decent-sized estate, too. I'm told, again, can't practice law, but I think what will happen is in order to get that bank account through the probate court, they could assess the value of your gross estate, not just the value of the bank account. And all it does is jack up the probate fee. So I don't know how Florida works, but I've heard that's how it works in Connecticut. So like half the money can just get wiped out. Another client of mine, same thing, where it was his dad's broker, and he still trying to get access to a life insurance policy. That the father, it actually wasn't the dad's broker. It was, it's a different broker, and I didn't really get to see it, so I just want to take credit or blame. But it turns out it was a policy that his parent had bought for him years and years ago, and they figured, when he was a kid, 19 years old or whatever, bought him. People used to buy life insurance for their kids back then, and there was no beneficiary named because he ended up getting married and just forgot a policy. And there's money just sitting there, and they're having one heck of a time getting it out, and the insurance company's not really cooperating. They won't even talk to them.
Wow.
So, yeah, so making those so those are the kind of things. So, just as a couple examples, with financial institutions, I mean, are they in a huge hurry to give you your money, or do you think they want to sit on it for a while?
No, of course not. Yeah.
Right.
There's never a hurry. Are you kidding me?
Exactly. Now, and if your advisor's not doing these things for you, what kind of problem do you have at the end of the day?
Well, look, I mean, you got to hire the right advisor. If they're not telling you what to do, that's not advising. They should be pointing you in the right direction. Well, I don't know. Take it upon myself, I wouldn't know what to do.
Yeah, I mean, because in this case, the bank, was happy to hold on to your money while you were alive, and they're making money on you while you're alive, but then also takes advantage of what's happening to your kids at the same time. They're making money on you while you're alive. Your kids want to get at that money, but they can't, so they're making money on them while you're what? Right? They're dead, right? So what's the big incentive? So do you see why I would be a bad advisor if I wouldn't not handling these things and talking about these things for people?
Yeah, this is why kids go mad. This is why kids.
Yeah,
we don't want anybody to end their parents' lives prematurely here.
Well, exactly. And that's exactly why another thing I want to offer, Gary, I know I'm throwing a lot out today. I know with the $100 gift card and coming to see me at no cost or obligation for, some basics. The 7 essentials are basic. the 21-point checklist, you get a $100 gift card. We uncover all these things in that. Most people don't realize it. And, you might listen to this episode and go scrub your beneficiaries and think you're okay. But we're also going to talk about your titling and then your beneficiaries. But there's, 19 other things that you may not have covered that we want to make sure get covered. So here's the deal. Also, for anybody, this is something I'm going to be offering to existing clients. Anyone's an existing client can get updates to their legal docs on our website through a third-party digital law firm called Estately. They have real lawyers. They're licensed in all 50 states. And then in the event you need an actual attorney, we have networks of attorneys that we work with in Glastonbury or in your local area. I have clients in, let's see, Westport. I have a great lawyer at Westport, great lawyer in Glastonbury. There's at least a great one in Newington. So we have all those people if, God forbid, you get stuck. But for anyone who is a client of mine, I'm going to offer the same service to their kids. Their kids are starting to have babies now. And I'm going to say, at least don't go to LegalZoom. Now, nothing against LegalZoom, but you have to pay for that. If you're a client of mine, I will let your children use this service at no cost or obligation.
It's a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win. Get yourself a will. Get yourself the power of attorney. Get familiar with the process.
How do I know if I want a will or a trust?
That's a great question. And if you go to my website and you click on estate planning, there's a quiz. And it says, do you need a will or a trust? And it actually asks you 10 questions.
All right.
And actually go check that out, Gary. And if you want to be the guinea pig on that, fine. But I actually did it a couple times, and it answered it the same way. Speaking
of your website, let me perfect timing. The website is www.frplan.com. frplan.com. FR is the acronym for the business, financial resources. And by the way, let me give you the phone number as well. Maybe you can schedule that no obligation consultation to accomplish the checklist and get yourself a $100 gas card to Cumberland Farms. It can be used in not just gas, but any of their products. 860-657-8380. 860-657-8380. Please continue, Mark.
Okay, so that's the titling. So that's for your accounts that are not in things like IRAs or 401ks. Mm-hmm. But outside of our house, where's most of our money sitting? What type
the
of
bank.
Accounts? Do you have it in the bank? Mm-hmm. And then what are the other
investments or whatnot?
Yeah, like I know your spouse is a teacher.
Yeah.
So they have this thing called the 403B.
Well, yeah, pensions and 401ks.
Pensions,
and
401ks, IRAs, right? So that's where most people have their money. And then again, if something were to go wrong with, so let's say you have an IRA and your spouse has an IRA. If something happens to you, where is it? It's going to go to her. Go to her. And something happens to her.
Vice versa.
Vice versa. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you're going to have what's called an inherited or a beneficiary IRA that you're going to merge together. Okay. So there's been a situation where from time to time, remember I told you about that life insurance policy that my client, it wasn't my client actually, the life insurance policy, they forgot to name a beneficiary on it.
Oh, right.
Okay. So a very similar story is there was this woman who was a very successful, high-powered executive, and she was working very, very hard and she got married a little bit late. She was a career woman. And when she first opened up her 401k account, had named her mom and dad, because she didn't have anyone else. And if something happened to the mom and dad, it would be her brother. Mm-hmm. Okay. And unfortunately, over time, her mom and dad passed away. And in the meantime, she was, again, smart gal. But again, life gets in the way, kids. So she gets married, finds this nice guy, has a couple kids, and everything's good. Unfortunately, what happened to her is one day she was late for a plane, rushing to the airport. Car hydroplanes. She gets wiped out and dies. Okay?
Well, oh, my goodness. That's terrible.
It's a terrible story. And so now remember, she had named, she got married and she had a bunch of kids. And, she got her will done. She got her trust done. But guess what she forgot to change on that 401k account?
Beneficiaries.
The beneficiaries. And guess who was named beneficiary?
Well, the probate. Probably went to probate, right?
Well, it was unfortunately her brother.
Okay.
Because she had named a beneficiary was still the brother, unfortunately, guess what happens? The brother also was one of these guys where at the time, he was growing up as a kid, but in his adult life, he liked to gamble. He had a few skirmishes with the law. He probably wasn't the best guy to be, trusting as your executor.
Sure.
So guess what do you think happened to that money?
All gone down the tubes.
Pretty much. Do you think he was willing to start, gifting away the money to the kids who need it most and the husband who wasn't?
Probably not. Sounds like a selfish, self-centered guy.
Yeah, it didn't really work out for her. So, the most important thing that we want to talk about, is how important is to get those things right.
You mentioned a number of times you're not an attorney. Okay, but do you need an attorney to set up a trust or a will or something like that, right?
Well, you don't need an attorney if you don't need an attorney. And I'll say that I am not here to knock attorneys because they are invaluable sources. I am a big fan of using lawyers, okay? It's almost like this. You need good accountants, you need good doctors, you need good lawyers. You don't want to mess around if you're not sure. If you are basic and you just need, like, for example, it's like somebody could set up their own brokerage account and start buying the S&P 500. Fine. There's really nothing wrong with that. If you have a basic situation, the software is getting good enough to actually help you even do your trusts, fund a trust, put your deed. You have to, name your deed in the trust. There's some other there are little nuances that will help folks with, like, making sure they name their home insurance, the additional insured, when they get a trust. I've been through that process before, so I understand how to help people. I can't write the legal documents. Someone else has to do that. Can I help you get your trust funded? Absolutely. I know how to do that.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah. So, but yeah, and then through our planning estately or the networks of lawyers we have, I absolutely, I'll probably end up referring most of the people going to the estate planning website who don't feel comfortable to one of the law sources that we work with. So if you're a lawyer, I wouldn't be in any panic anytime soon because you guys you're invaluable. You have knowledge that, the software just isn't caught up with yet. And then the interpersonal relationships as well.
I agree.
But I would say for kids, if you have a family, you're just starting off your family, you need a will, you need to have a power of attorney, you need a medical power of attorney. I'd absolutely stress that you do that. And then going through this beneficiary thing, one of the main things we talked about, remember how they got all that money. Mm-hmm. Now, there's another thing. I don't know. Hopefully how much time do I have left?
You have a solid 4 minutes.
All right. So let me go through this very quickly. So let's say, for example, you have a family, a mom and a dad, and then you have a family, let's say three grandkids. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they have grandkids. And then unfortunately, what can happen is you have the father. Okay, let's say put it this way. You have the parents, and then you have their kids, right? And then you have grandkids. Okay? Mm-hmm. So you have three. And then one of the things that can happen is if something happens to one of the kids, their direct kids, if the form is filled out incorrectly and they have kids, the money, so let's say I had a pie. If I split a pie three ways, how many slices will I have?
Three.
Right. What happens, unfortunately, if you don't do this right, one of those pies slices goes away, and now I only have two. So if 3 is a third, how much is 50%?
Okay.
Half.
Yes, half.
Right?
Yes.
It's half. So so I go through this exercise with people to say if it's not filled out correctly, and something happens to them and one of their kids, okay, again, things get in the way. You're going back and forth to the hospital. You're not thinking about filling out these forms. You're worried about whether you're going to live or die, or maybe there's a tragic accident. Guess what happens to those poor grandkids if something happened to them and one of their children? Guess what happens to their grandkids if their form isn't filled out correctly? Guess who gets disinherited?
Yeah, they get nothing.
They get nothing. Now, I'm sure the other two kids are going to do the right thing and start gifting money to them. But
you're a little too sure of yourself. I don't know.
Exactly, when it comes to the money, right?
That's right.
So my point is we want to help avoid that because otherwise what happens if they have to start gifting money out of those IRAs to help out the other kids? Guess what?
Yeah.
I
don't trust it.
Even if they were, is the IRS going to be friendly to them on the tax?
Heck no.
Right. So what would be the better thing to do? Make sure that form is filled out right, or make sure?
Of course. Yeah,
right.
You have to dot your I's and cross your T's. This is why you exist, Mark. This is what you're here for. This is why people need to seek your advice and your help because you're going to put them on the right path.
Thank you. Yeah, and how many people are walking around thinking they're going to unintentionally disinherit their grandkids unintentionally?
Nobody would intentionally.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely not. But I could probably throw a dart out there, and most people will tell me they have them done right, and I could, without a shadow of a doubt, I'll probably find some that don't.
Yeah, well,
I do all the time.
This is why people need to sit down with you. Got 1 minute left. That's it. It's all yours.
All right. Well, Gary, again, thank you for having me on the show, and hopefully we're providing not only insightful but actionable items. And you come to my office, it's a no snob zone. So I want to let you know you're comfortable. You're like family. You can wear your sweatpants. You don't have to wear a suit. You don't have to dress up. I tend to dress business casual. I'm not wearing the pinstripes and the fancy shoes.
I think that's why people like that.
We want a comfortable environment. Now, do I have those fancy suits and fancy shoes? Yeah. I mean, I wear those to events. If you want me to dress up, I will. I'll wear my tie. But I think most people just want to have just a nice, comfortable conversation with somebody who's got a lot of experience at this. So.
Well, you said the word right there, comfort. Yeah. If you'd like to schedule that no-obligation consultation, if you would like to fulfill that checklist and receive your $100 gas card that can be used for gas and any other Cumberland Farms, I want you to write this number down and better yet call it. It can be right now. It could be at the end of this show, which is in a minute, or it can be on Monday. But just call it and schedule that no obligation consultation. 860-657-8380. I'll slow it down. I'll repeat it one more time. Just call it 860-657-8380. And by the way, you can check them out online at frplan.com, www.frplan.com. Incidentally, on his website is a link to YouTube. You can check out this show. You can replay it or any other shows that you may have missed. You simply type in, once you get to the field on YouTube, type in Mark with a K, M-A-R-K, Papa, P-A-P-P-A, 5207, and then you can check out all of previous shows. This show is so important. It's financial, non-financial stuff that advisors really don't tell you. These are oftentimes the little things that get overlooked. So I hope you join us each and every Saturday morning at this time. For Mark Papa, I'm Gary Byron. Thank you so much for listening to On the Mark with Mark Papa. Until next Saturday morning, have a good one, everybody. So long.